Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. I want to give you a quick update on the 800 hole scenario. I did get in the new drill, and I used it. The first hole I used it for was this, which is an airbag setup for the white truck. The outside bolt holes are the location for the existing frame holes above the axle for the bump stops. So then I just had to put in a pattern that would mount the top of the bag and allow access to the air port. On the bottom, I just drilled a side hole in the where the suspension limiting bounce stop was, and I'm going to thread snake a bolt up in there and tack weld the bolt. So first step on placing the bags will be to compress it or extend the suspension on the truck, screw the bag down onto the bottom stud, and then mount the plate on the top side. So it'll be a really easy installation once it's done. But stores are closed today, so I can't get hardware. I need some beveled anchors here, and I'll have to use the step bit or some kind of a large bit to make a recess, because those have to fit flush. Then the new drill came in. I think I mentioned that. So now I can drill big holes without smoking the bits. So I'm probably going to go back to some modifications I'm making on my experimental mower. Once again, you shouldn't do anything like this with your mower or anything. But so the new bit came in as, excuse the mess, it's kind of a workshop slash house. But anyway, here it is side by side with the Morphin. The difference is it has variable speed, and when you run the bigger bits, your surface speed here is a lot higher. So I have to crank it down to the lowest setting, 100, and it really cuts real nice. And then I've got the Morphin for smaller holes. It's actually what I'm using for the 800 holes, and I've drilled, I don't know, maybe maybe 300 or 400 on the same bit and haven't smoked it. So I'm happy with that for some stuff, but for the most part, I like the Herms variable speed better. Now the question is, I got to check the offset from the arbor to the plate and dimensionally to see if the jig that I built for and here's my steel cutting evolution saw. It works real good too. But I got to see if the jig that I built for reliable, repeatable placement of the holes up to fork will work with the new drill, or if I wasted my time building that jig. See, it bolts to the hole, and then it gives it an index for reliable, repeatable machining. Because my thinking is, a small mower, why do you need the same gauge and same thickness of forks? You have far less weight. So say here's a 72, has that massive deck on there. That's the older 72. It has probably, I got to get some load cells and do 4-point testing on typical mowers, and then mowers that I've modified to understand. And or if you ever seen me mowing with these older 72s, I have a suspicion that they are a lot better balanced, a lot more aft weighted than the newer with these bigger, longer decks. So I will find out if I can get the order in on some load cells. Then here's the 800 holes. Came into a problem here. First of all, I realized I don't have to go all the way to the front, because the front is where the front tire of the mower is. I don't need the traction, nor do I need the structure, because there's less weight up there. This is longer than needed, but I'm not gonna trim it until it's in place, because I don't know how much it's gonna shrink lengthways when I swage it. But as I'm swaging it, you can see how much curl it's putting on that. So the idea is it's going to have to be at least tack weld it onto the trailer as I progress with swaging to keep that from curling, because if I keep going and it gets too much curl, it's going to be really hard to straighten out. So I'm just going to have to do a manipulation of the material in place. I can't weld it all the way down and then swage it, because it's going to pull in too hard and snap the welds, and it ain't going to work. So it's going to be a progressive thing to keep this flat. I've never done this, so I'm learning, and it may end up being a no-go, thing. Here I'm building an attachment. Basically, the forks were existing, okay, but what I found was the sand bucket was only good for sand and dirt. There's higher volume buckets, but they still aren't great for brush or anything. And what I think it's probably best for brush is this, the forks. So what I did was I cut out a piece of steel, this pan, out of an old gun cabinet or something, and I welded the nuts on the backside. So the whole idea is you can take this pan out with 4 bolts with an impact without even holding onto a nut. You just, from the top side. So what I'm going to do is I'm welding this rib in here to hold and help support the pan, and these tack welds will be ground off. I'll drill a big clearance hole about halfway through this rib, and then I'll drill a bore hole through and then tap it on the forks. So then these bolts would be the same size as those, because I hate having bolts that are not the same size. You grab the impact and you'd be able to remove that pan almost instantly. And then above and beyond the pan that goes, so once you have the pan removed, now you've got normal pallet forks, which you use all the time too. So, and of course, I showed on the other video how I have the hitch ball for the front of the fork. So then to finish this attachment, what I'll do is to make a grapple. And to do that, I've got, I've got a cylinder, and I already plumbed it with the hoses, and it'll go on the aux port. So it'll be mounted to the top of this frame, the fork frame, and it'll have the ram to articulate the forks, and it'll operate off of this lever right here for the auxiliary ports to close and open. And I'll probably build the arms for the grapple out of this solid 3/4 by 2 inch or whatever it is steel, 2 of them pointing forward and opening up, and then they could close to the outside of the forks, so that if you grab a small bunch of material, you're still be able to clamp. And then if you're grabbing a big, it doesn't matter. So they aren't going to pinch. They're not going to pinch pinchers, because that's the biggest frustration on my big grapples. The grapple comes together regardless of whether or not it's compressed the brush that you're supposed to be grabbing. So then in addition, I'm also going to grind and make these feathered so the material can slide over it better. It's not the best design or anything, but it should suffice for what this machine will do. Nothing's ever perfect. Well, unless you are laying up for mass production on attachments and you got everything jigged up to make 1,000 of them, then you can do perfect, then you can work on your time design and everything. So to get that material with that bend on it, I cut it off of a hitch, because I need this hitch cut down anyway to make a 5th wheel hitch for the truck. So I'll be cutting that and then go get a piece machined that has exactly that bore hole, and then I get an outside weld and an inside weld, because I don't like to have things that are reliant just on the weld. I want it to be in shear, especially on a piece like that where you're pulling, 10,000, 15,000 pound fifth wheels down the road. So I think that's about everything, except for also I wanted to use another one of these hydraulic cylinders. It'll probably have to be a bigger one than this one, and build off of the front of this machine wood splitter. And then what I'll do is, of course, it'll run off of the aux ports, and then so that you don't have to run back and forth on the machine. Obviously, your splitter would be out here, but then just run a temporary link arm that has the support rod here and a link arm up to the lever, so that you can place the log on the splitter and then split it from right here using the hydraulics off of this machine. So that's a long story. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to get a lot of video because there was something weird going on with my channel a while back, and I haven't figured out exactly what's going on. But I don't want to waste my time putting out videos for myself. I had some videos that were climbing. I was in a trend, I think, and then I saw where all of a sudden videos that were gaining hundreds of views an hour all of a sudden stopped dead, and thinking that statistically that's impossible on a global audience platform. Unless somebody else can help me out understand that, I'm not going to really waste my time trying to climb on and off of machines, nearly getting my toes cut off with the blades, or shutting down the blades and turning them back on to place cameras all the time, which burns out your clutch and your belts and everything else. So if I can figure out why, because my idea on doing YouTube is to share information, but if I'm just sharing information with myself, it's not worth the risk. So until I can get that figured out, you may just get, I mean, I want to keep people updated that have been watching, but I got to figure out what happened with my channel, why it all of a sudden first got shadow banned, in my opinion, then later throttled, where each of the subsequent videos, I could tell that there was like a choke put on them or something, where they can't take off like they were for a little while there, where it seemed like I was starting to gain more audience, which works towards what my goal was, is to share information. I don't want to just do this, you know, just as a bragging or, oh, look what I did type thing or anything like that. So that's why the videos are coming a little less, and with a little less action scenes and more anecdotal or explanation, which I hate. I don't like doing that because I sound like I'm preachy or something, or know-it-all, which I don't mean to be. But that's kind of the best I can do under the circumstances, because I'm solo operator. I can't be climbing on and off of equipment to get, you know, video all the time. So hopefully y'all understand, and if anybody has a reasoning why videos that were climbing by the hundreds per hour would suddenly go to 0 for the next 24 hours, I mean zero additional views on a global platform, I don't understand how that is statistically, in my opinion, impossible. All right, I'm going to get back to work. I'll catch you later. Have a good Easter.